Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a really huge global challenge, biological invasions.
Right, these alien species, they cause enormous problems, ecosystem damage, economic costs.
Exactly. And historically, managing them globally has been, well, kind of a mess. So much data, or maybe not enough data, and no standard way to look at it.
Which makes coordinated action incredibly hard.
So our mission today is to explore some key research that tried to find a shortcut, if you like, identifying the absolute minimum data we need to track this effectively.
And that source is a really significant paper from 2017, A Vision for Global Monitoring of Biological Invasions. Guillaume Latombe was the lead author, backed by a big international team.
Okay, so what was the core problem they were trying to fix?
The core problem was this total lack of standardization. Even though everyone knew invasions were urgent, there just wasn't a common, comparable monitoring system between countries.
So different countries collecting different things in different ways.
Exactly, which leads to sort of information paralysis at the international level. You can't really compare apples and oranges when you're trying to set global policy.
That really highlights a major policy gap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's just quickly set the scene. Why is this so critical now?
Well, the scale is just immense. I mean, biological invasions are a top driver of biodiversity loss. They mess up ecosystem services. They hammer native species through competition, predation.
You have some numbers on that.
Yeah, staggering ones. Think about this. Globally, over 13,000 vascular plant species have become naturalized outside their native range.
13,000 plants alone.
And in Europe, over 12,000 alien species documented. And about 15% of those, a significant chunk, are known to cause negative impacts on biodiversity and ecosystems.
And with global trade and travel constantly increasing, this isn't a problem that's going away. It's getting worse.
It's accelerating. And because species don't care about borders, any effective policy has to be cross-border.
But if the data underneath isn't comparable, the whole policy structure is shaky.
That's the crux of it. And the authors actually put a number on that gap. Back in 2010, they found only about 26% of countries reported having any national surveillance or monitoring for alien species.
Only a quarter. Wow.
Yeah. So think about international enrollments, like the CBD's Aichi Target 9. That target required countries to identify and prioritize invasive alien species.
How could they possibly do that effectively if three-quarters of the world wasn't systematically collecting the needed information?
They couldn't. That geographical variation, the capacity gap, it just undermined the whole effort.
Okay, so that brings us to the central question of the paper, right? How do you fix this? How do you create a standard that works for everyone? From, data-rich nations to those with far fewer resources.
Their solution was quite elegant, actually. They leaned on an existing idea, essential variables, or EVs.
EVs, right, like essential climate variables.
Exactly like that concept. They adapted it, building on essential biodiversity variables, or EBVs, to define a minimum core set of information specifically for invasion monitoring.
Okay, so how did they decide what was essential? It sounds tricky.
It wasn't just a theoretical exercise. They used a formal expert elicitation process, multi-stage, involving dozens of experts from different fields, ecology, policy, data modeling.
So getting a real consensus from the people who work with this stuff day to day.
Precisely. And that consensus process is what gives the findings real weight. They managed to boil it down to just 3 essential variables for invasion monitoring, or EVIMs.
3 core variables, okay.
And what's really neat is the proposed structure. It's not just what data, but how it's gathered. It relies on a mix of in situ data collected locally by countries and ex situ data drawn from global sources.
Interesting. Let's break down those 3 EVIMs. What's the first one? The foundation.
EVIM number 1 is alien species occurrence. This is the bedrock.
So basically, where is the species found?
Exactly. Spatially explicit records knowing it's present here or maybe confirming it's absent there. And critically, the paper states this is the only EVIM that absolutely must be generated in situ.
Meaning countries have to collect this data themselves on the ground.
Yes. You need that local knowledge. The point is to quantify the geographic spread, track movement, see how fast a range is expanding.
And presumably, you need to do it repeatedly.
Absolutely. The paper suggests collating this data at least every 5 years to actually monitor trends and see if management actions are working.
Okay, occurrence is EVM1. What's number 2?
EVM number 2 is species alien status. This adds the crucial context.
Meaning confirming that the species you recorded is actually alien in that location, not native.
Spot on. Is it truly alien or is it native? This info usually comes from ex situ sources looking at historical records, global databases, species native ranges.
But hang on. Relying on historical records.
Yeah.
That can be messy, right? What if a country's old records are patchy or just wrong? That happens a lot.
It's a major challenge, and the authors are upfront about it. Assigning status is difficult. There are taxonomic mix-ups, human errors in old records.
So how does the system handle that uncertainty? You don't want to base policy on a mistake.
The idea is that global initiatives, these ex situ resources, can help verify or flag potential issues with nationally assigned statuses. They have a broader perspective, more historical data points globally. But getting that status right is fundamental.
Because if you get it wrong,
You might end up trying to control or eradicate a species that actually belongs there, or conversely, ignoring a genuine new threat. So status is essential before any action is taken.
Okay, that makes sense. Occurrence, status. What's the
Shouldn't that-
third EM?
The third is alien species impact. This moves beyond just where it is and what it is to asking, how much damage is it doing?
Read the prioritization piece. Which ones are the real troublemakers?
Exactly. You need to measure the detrimental environmental effect to know where to focus limited resources. Impact is complex, so this EVIM is often a composite variable.
Derived from multiple kinds of data.
Yes, and crucially, they recommend standardizing it using the EICAT scheme. That's the Environmental Impact Classification for alien taxa.
EICAT. I've heard of that. It's like a standardized risk assessment for environmental harm, similar to how the IUCN Red List classifies extinction risk.
That's a perfect analogy. EICAT sorts species into 5 impact classes, from minimal to massive. It creates a common language.
So a policymaker anywhere can understand an impact score from somewhere else.
Precisely. And it's not just about the damage seen locally. A key part is using the maximum impact observed anywhere in the world for that species to estimate its potential future threat level in a new area. It's about proactive prioritization.
Okay, so those are the 3 pillars: occurrence, status, impact. Defines the minimum needed. But just defining them doesn't magically give countries the capacity to collect the data, especially EVM1, the occurrence data.
Absolutely not. And that's where the other really smart part of this paper comes in, the modular approach.
The flexible roadmap.
Exactly. It's designed specifically to tackle that inequality in national capacity. It lets countries build up their contribution over time, step by step, rather than demanding everything at once.
So countries can start small. What's level 1?
Stage 1 is basically getting your house in order. Compile a national inventory of alien species. Even just starting with the groups you know best, like plants or vertebrates.
Just knowing what's actually present.
Which sounds basic, but remember that 2010 figure, only 11% of countries had a full inventory then. So it's a vital first step.
Okay, what's stage 2?
Stage 2 is about targeting. Use limited resources for fine-scale observations, but focus them on priority sites like protected areas, biodiversity hotspots, points of entry.
Get the most bang for your buck, monitoring-wise.
Right. Then stage 3 is scaling up to create national distribution maps for key species, maybe at a fairly coarse resolution to start, but still contributing valuable data globally.
And the final stage, the gold standard.
Stage 4 is the advanced setup. A network of permanent, long-term monitoring sites where occurrence is tracked regularly, systematically. That's what really lets you measure trends, evaluate if your interventions are working over time.
This whole modular idea makes it feel much more achievable, breaking it down like that.
It turns a daunting global requirement into a series of manageable steps.
And the technology exists now to handle this data, right? If a country collects occurrence data, where does it go? Doesn't just sit on a local computer, presumably.
No, and that's key. The vision relies on existing global digital infrastructure. Think of GBIF, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, or OBS for marine data. They act as the huge databases, the containers for that raw occurrence data, EVM1.
Okay, so the data goes into GBIF or similar platforms.
Then you have initiatives like GEOSIP, the Global Invasive Alien Species Information Partnership, that acts more like an integrator, helping to share, synthesize, and analyze the data.
And what about status information, EVMSAT?
That links heavily with resources like GIS, the Global Register of Introduced and Invasive Species. GIS already holds verified national checklists, which is crucial for confirming alien status.
So the pipes are largely built. It's more about getting the data flowing into them consistently.
Exactly. The infrastructure isn't the main bottleneck anymore. It's about mobilizing the data collection and ensuring the institutional commitment to keep it going.
The paper also mentioned other variables, things that are useful but not part of the core three evens.
Yeah, supplementary variables. Things like population abundance, how many are there, or pathways, how did it get here? Was it introduced on purpose or by accident?
Or maybe details about the environment it's invading.
Right, like climate suitability, habitat type. This extra info helps refine local risk assessments, target monitoring better, maybe even predict future invasions. Useful, but not part of that essential minimum for global reporting.
Now, no plan is perfect. Did the authors acknowledge limitations or ongoing challenges?
Oh, absolutely. They were realistic. Big challenges remain. There's still huge geographic variation in data quality.
Hmm.
Some parts of the world are effectively data black holes.
And taxonomic problems.
Yeah.
Not always knowing exactly what species you're dealing with.
That too. Taxonomic gaps persist. And there's a more bureaucratic hurdle, getting experts motivated to validate the same information across multiple different databases. That takes time and effort.
Database fatigue, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. It needs better coordination globally.
But despite those hurdles, the overall impact of this EVM framework seems pretty clear.
Definitely. It provided, for the first time, a clear, globally agreed-upon direction. It's flexible through the modular approach, and it creates a solid foundation for getting reliable information into the hands of policymakers.
So it helps make things like the CBD targets actually functional, measurable.
It improves the underlying data, which makes the indicators used to track progress on those targets far more reliable. You can actually see if policies are making a difference.
So for you listening, the big takeaway here is how this vision managed to distill a hugely complex global issue tracking invasive species down to three core standardized things to measure: occurrence, status, and impact.
It makes the problem feel less overwhelming, more tangible.
The paper aimed to have the building blocks ready by 2020. The EVIMs, the modular plan, the infrastructure.
And largely those pieces are in place. The ongoing challenge isn't so much the science now, but the sustained institutional will. Countries need to commit to collecting and sharing this data and, crucially, updating it. The paper suggested at least every 5 years to keep it relevant.
Okay, so here's something to think about. This whole system hinges on international cooperation and countries adopting this standardized approach. Of those three essential variables, occurrence, status, impact, which one do you think poses the biggest ongoing hurdle for policy and international agreement?
Is it the cost and effort of collecting occurrence data on the ground? Is it the scientific and sometimes political difficulty of agreeing on a species' historical status?
Or is it the challenge of applying a standardized impact rating, like EICAT, consistently across different countries with different priorities and regulations? Something for you to consider.
It's a fascinating question about where the real friction lies in global cooperation.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.